The massive doors of the Galaxy Council chamber opened with a loud sound that echoed through the huge room. Li Hanwu walked inside wearing his best black suit and carrying a simple leather bag. The human ambassador looked small compared to the giant aliens sitting in their floating chairs around the circular room, but his face showed no fear at all. The Vorthan Prime Minister was already talking when Li entered. The blue-skinned alien had 4 arms and was waving all of them as he spoke through the translation machine. His voice came out in perfect human language, but the anger was clear in every word. He was demanding that Earth give up all their colonies in the outer space regions and pay huge taxes to the Galaxy Council. Li sat down in the human chair, which was much smaller than all the other seats in the room. Park Sojin, his military helper, leaned over and whispered in his ear. She told him that their spy satellites had detected alien warships moving closer to human space. The aliens thought humans were too stupid to notice, but humans had been watching everything for months. The Galaxy Council had called these peace talks because they were scared humans had been spreading across the galaxy faster than anyone expected. In just 200 years since leaving Earth, humans had built cities on 40 different planets and moons. Most alien species took thousands of years to expand that much, but humans were different. They could live anywhere and change anything. To work for Thema, a tall, thin alien from the Krillian Empire, stood up next. He had tentacles instead of arms, and his skin was green and slimy. He slammed one tentacle on his speaking desk and shouted that humans were dangerous. The translation machine made his voice sound like an angry robot. He said humans were changing planets too fast and making new versions of themselves with science. The alien called it cheating, but humans called it surviving. Li remembered what Kim Minho had told him before coming to this meeting. Kim was Earth's smartest negotiator, and he had warned that this day would come. The old alien civilizations could not accept that humans refused to obey their rules. They wanted humans to be grateful just for being allowed to exist in space and to accept being treated like children. Forevermore aliens began speaking, and each one made the same basic demand. Humans must stop expanding to new worlds. Humans must stop developing new technology without permission. Humans must give up half their military ships. Humans must pay tribute to the older civilizations. And if humans refused, then 17 different alien empires would join together to destroy Earth and every human colony. The threats kept coming for 3 hours. The Zephyrian trade masters said humans were stealing business from alien companies. The mollusk leader complained that human terraforming was making other species look bad. The Temporal Union representative even claimed that humans were disrupting the natural order of the galaxy by advancing too quickly. Li listened to everything without changing his expression. He had been preparing for this moment his entire career. He knew that no matter what humans offered, it would never be enough. The aliens did not want peace, they wanted submission. They wanted humans to bow down and accept permanent second-class status in their carefully controlled universe. When the Vorthan Prime Minister finished reading the official demands, Li stood up. Slowly, every alien in the room watched him, expecting to see fear or anger or desperate begging. Instead, they saw something that confused them completely. Li looked calm and almost relieved, like a heavy weight had been lifted from his shoulders. Li picked up his leather bag and walked to the center of the room where all the aliens could see him clearly. He thanked them for their time in a polite voice that showed no emotion at all. Then he said something that would change the galaxy forever. Earth no longer recognized the authority of the Galaxy Council. Humans were withdrawing from all treaties, all agreements, and all diplomatic relations starting immediately. The silence that followed was so complete that Li could hear his own heartbeat. The aliens stared at him like he had just declared war on the entire universe. In their minds, that was exactly what he had done. No species had ever voluntarily left the Galaxy Council since it was formed 10,000 years ago. The idea was so shocking that most aliens could not even understand what they had just heard. Park Sojin and the other human diplomats stood up and gathered their papers. They had practiced this moment many times back on Earth. Every human in the room knew exactly what to do and when to do it. They moved with quiet efficiency while the aliens sat frozen in disbelief. The Vorthan Prime Minister finally found his voice and demanded to know what humans thought they were doing. Li turned back to face him. One last time and explained in simple words that even a child could understand. The Galaxy Council wanted humans to choose between freedom and peace. Humans had chosen freedom. If the aliens wanted war, then humans would give them war. Lee walked toward the exit doors with his team following behind him. The sound of their footsteps on the metal floor seemed impossibly loud in the silent chamber behind them. Aliens began shouting questions and threats in dozens of different languages, but the humans did not turn around or slow down. Just before reaching the doors, Lee stopped and looked back at the assembled aliens one final time. He spoke clearly so that every translation machine in the room would capture his words perfectly. He told them that humans had learned something important about the galaxy in the past 50 years. The older civilizations were not wiser or more advanced than humans, they were just older and more afraid of change. The human delegation walked out of the Galaxy Council chamber, and the doors closed behind them with a sound like thunder. The aliens were left sitting in stunned silence, trying to understand what had just happened. They had expected humans to negotiate or beg or at least show proper fear. Instead, they had been given a polite goodbye and a door closing with absolute finality outside the chamber. Park So-jin activated her communication device and sent a coded message to every human ship and colony in the galaxy. The message was simple, but it started the biggest change in galactic history. Phase 1 was complete, and it was time for Phase 2 to begin. Humans were no longer bound by alien rules, and the galaxy was about to learn what that really meant. Lee Hyun-woo walked through the corridors of the council station, knowing that he would never return. The age of human diplomacy with the old powers was over. The age of human independence was about to begin, and somewhere in the back of his mind he smiled because he knew that the aliens had no idea what they had just unleashed upon themselves. The galaxy was about to discover that humans were not like other species. When pushed too far, most civilizations either submitted or died quietly. Humans had a third option that terrified anyone smart enough to understand it. They fought back, and they were very, very good at it. Admiral Choi Young-sik stood on the bridge of the battleship, sole pride, watching the stars through the massive front window. His hands were steady on the control panel, even though he knew that everything was about to change. The message from Earth had arrived 3 hours ago, and now every human ship in the galaxy was moving according to the secret plan they had practiced for years. The plan was called Operation Homecoming, and it was the biggest military movement in human history. Every human diplomat, every human business person, every human tourist, and every human worker was being pulled back from alien space before the situation got worse. Captain Nam Ji-yoon was leading one of the evacuation fleets, making sure that civilians got to safety first. Nam had been flying cargo ships between human and alien worlds for 15 years. She knew every trade route, every customs officer, and every hiding place in the galaxy. Her ships looked like normal merchant vessels, but they were actually disguised military transports that could carry thousands of people. The aliens had no idea that their trade partners were secretly escape artists back on Earth. President Kang Da-hai was preparing to address the entire human population through quantum communication networks. Her speech was going to be broadcast to every human colony, every human ship, and every human outpost at exactly the same moment. The message would be simple, but it would change everything. Kang had been preparing for this day. Since she took office 5 years ago, she knew that the old alien civilizations would never accept humans as equals, and she had been building up human military forces while pretending to be interested in peace talks. The aliens thought humans were weak because humans were new, but they were about to learn the difference between being young and being helpless. The evacuation was happening faster than anyone had expected. Human civilians were leaving alien worlds so quickly that alien governments barely had time to notice. Captain Lee Dong-min was coordinating the withdrawal from the Vorthen home system, and he reported that all humans would be gone within 6 hours. The speed surprised even human military planners. Dro Tae-young was working in his secret laboratory on Luna Station, putting the finishing touches on weapons that would shock the entire galaxy. For 20 years he had been studying alien technology and finding weaknesses that the aliens themselves had forgotten about. Their plasma weapons could be reflected back at them. Their bioships could be killed with the right virus. Their energy shields could be overloaded with feedback pulses. The First alien response came from the Krillian Empire A fleet of their warships. Appeared near the human colony of New Sol, expecting to find defenseless civilians. Instead, they found military installations that had been hidden underground for decades. The Krillians sent a message demanding that humans surrender immediately. But no one answered them. Colonel Yoon Seok-jin was commanding the defense of New Sol, and he was not planning to make things easy for the aliens. His troops had been training in secret for years, learning how to fight enemies that were bigger, stronger, and more advanced than humans. The key was not to fight fair, but to fight smart. The alien fleets began moving toward human space, expecting quick victories. Against primitive human technology, what they found instead was something that no alien military academy had ever taught them: how to handle human ships that moved in ways that seemed impossible. Human weapons that turned alien advantages into weaknesses. Human tactics that broke every rule of civilized warfare. The Vorthan battle fleet attacked the human mining station at Kepler 7, thinking it would be an easy target. The station looked defenseless from the outside. But when the aliens got close enough, they discovered that the entire asteroid had been turned into a giant weapon. The mining lasers that carved up rocks could also carve up alien ships. Commander Park Min-young was running the defense of Kepler 7 from a hidden control room deep inside the asteroid. She watched alien ships explode on her screens while her crews remained completely safe. The aliens had superior numbers, but humans had superior planning, and that made all the difference. The galaxy-wide communication networks began carrying news that shocked every civilization. Humans were not running away from the alien fleets. Instead, they were destroying them. Human colonies that looked weak from space turned out to be death traps. Human merchant ships revealed hidden weapons that could sink battleships. Human mining operations became military bases. Overnight, Lieutenant Song Haijin was piloting a reconnaissance ship near the Temporal Union border when she detected something that made her blood run cold. The aliens were bringing their most dangerous weapons out of storage, including devices that could destroy entire planets. The gloves were coming off, and the real war was about to begin. President Kang went on the air exactly 12 hours after the Galaxy Council meeting ended. Her message was broadcast in every human language and sent to every human settlement. Her words were simple, but they carried the weight of an entire species refusing to bow down. She told humanity that they had tried diplomacy and been rejected. She told them that they had offered friendship and been threatened. She told them that now they would show the galaxy what humans could do when they stopped being polite. The alien governments waited for human surrender messages that never came. Instead, they got something much worse. They got silence. Human ships stopped responding to alien communications. Human colonies stopped accepting alien visitors. Human trade networks shut down completely. It was like humanity had simply vanished from galactic civilization overnight, but humans had not vanished. They had just stopped pretending to be weak. The galaxy was about to learn that the species they had dismissed as primitive newcomers had been studying them, analyzing them, and preparing to fight them for decades. The peace talks had failed, but humans had expected that the real plan was just beginning. Admiral Choi looked at the tactical display showing human forces moving into position throughout the galaxy. The evacuation was complete, the weapons were ready, and every human soldier knew exactly what they were supposed to do. The aliens wanted a war, and humans were going to give them one they would never forget. The attack on New Sol began at dawn when 50 Vorthan warships dropped out of hyperspace, expecting to find an easy target. The blue-skinned aliens had brought their most powerful plasma cannons and energy shields, confident that primitive human technology could not stand against weapons that had conquered dozens of worlds over thousands of years. They were very wrong. Colonel Yoon Seok-jin watched the enemy fleet approach from his command bunker buried 3 kilometers underground. The aliens were following standard attack patterns that human analysts had been studying for decades. Everything they did was predictable because they had been using the same tactics for so long that they forgot other approaches existed. When the Vorthan ships opened fire, their plasma beams struck what appeared to be simple defensive barriers around the human city. Instead of destroying the shields, the alien weapons were absorbed, captured, and redirected back at the attacking fleet. The technology was based on principles that Dr. Oh Tae-young had discovered while studying captured alien equipment. The Aliens watched in horror as their own weapons destroyed their own ships. The energy they had fired at the humans was now burning through their hulls and killing their crews at Marl Kethvar. The Vorthan fleet commander tried to retreat but found that his ships were surrounded by invisible mines that had been launched while he was focused on the attack. Colonel Yoon activated the planetary defense grid that had been built in secret over the past 10 years. New Sol was not just a colony, it was a fortress that looked like a city. The aliens had been watching it for years, but they had only seen what humans wanted them to see hidden. Weapons emerged from every building and every hill, turning the entire planet into one massive gun. Lieutenant Park Yoonji was leading a reconnaissance team through the wreckage of Vorthan ships looking for intelligence data. Her job was not just to fight the aliens, but to learn from every battle. Humans treated every engagement as a classroom, where they could discover new weaknesses and develop better tactics. The breakthrough came when Park found the navigation computer from the Vorthan flagship. The data contained detailed maps of every major alien military installation in the galaxy, including the secret breeding worlds where the Krillian Empire raised their bioships. Human intelligence had been trying to find those locations for 20 years. Captain Song Min-jun received the coordinates while his stealth fleet was hiding in the Horsehead Nebula. His ships were equipped with the new quantum tunnel drives that DRO had developed based on alien technology. The drives allowed human vessels to appear anywhere in the galaxy without using normal hyperspace routes. Song led the first deep strike mission into the heart of alien territory, not to destroy civilian targets, but to deliver a message. The human fleet appeared in orbit around 3 different alien homeworlds at exactly the same moment. They launched warning beacons that broadcast a simple statement in every alien language. The beacons said that humans could reach any target anywhere in the galaxy and no defense could stop them. The psychological impact was immediate. Alien populations that had felt safe behind their military fleets suddenly realized that nowhere was truly secure. Human ships had penetrated the most heavily defended systems in the galaxy and left evidence of their presence before vanishing without a trace. Dr. Shin One was working around the clock in her laboratory improving their quantum tunnel technology. Her team had discovered that alien space had natural weak points that could be exploited by human science. Every star system had hidden pathways that allowed instant travel for anyone who knew how to find them. The aliens began to understand that they were not fighting a normal war. Human forces did not try to hold territory or capture resources. Instead, they struck at targets that had strategic value. The humans hit communication networks that connected alien governments. They destroyed supply depots that fed alien armies. They captured research stations that developed alien weapons. Commander Bei Hyo-jin specialized in what humans called information warfare. His job was to steal alien secrets and broadcast them to the entire galaxy. When he hacked into the Vorthan military database, he found records of war crimes that had been hidden for centuries. The humans made sure that every alien civilization learned what the Vorthans had really been doing. The tide of war shifted when humans stopped playing by the rules that aliens expected. Space combat had always been about big fleets meeting in open battle, with the stronger side winning through superior numbers and weapons. But humans treated space like an ocean where submarines could strike from ambush and disappear before the enemy could respond. Captain Kim Jae-won commanded a pack of human attack ships that hunted alien convoys using Wolfpack tactics. His vessels would appear behind enemy supply lines, destroy everything they could carry, and vanish before reinforcements arrived. The aliens never knew where the next attack would come from. The most devastating human weapon was not any piece of technology, but the way humans thought about warfare. Aliens fought to control territory and resources, but humans fought to control information and psychology. Every human victory was designed to teach the aliens that resistance was hopeless. The Galaxy Council called emergency meetings, but found that their communication networks had been compromised. Human hackers had infiltrated every major alien computer system and could listen to any conversation they wanted. The aliens could not plan or coordinate their defense because humans knew everything they were going to do before they did it. Admiral Park Chan-wook was preparing for the biggest battle of the war when alien intelligence detected human fleet movements near the Andromeda Gate. the aliens assembled their largest battle group, including ships from 5 different empires, to crush what they thought would be humanity's main attack force. But the human ships at Andromeda Gate were decoys equipped with holographic projectors and signal generators. The real human fleet was attacking alien shipyards on the other side of the galaxy, while the aliens were chasing ghosts. Their ability to build new warships was being systematically destroyed. The war entered a new phase when humans began broadcasting captured alien communications to oppressed species throughout the galaxy. Many civilizations had been forced to join alien empires through conquest or economic pressure. When they learned that the mighty galactic powers were being defeated by newcomers, some of them began to rebel. General Kim Wood-jin received requests for military assistance from 12 different species that wanted to fight for their independence. Human advisors and weapons began appearing on worlds that had been under alien control for centuries. The revolution was spreading faster than any government could contain it. The aliens finally understood that they were not just fighting humanity, they were fighting an idea, the idea that any species could choose its own destiny regardless of how old or powerful their neighbors claimed to be. Humans had not just started a war, they had started a galactic revolution that would change everything forever. The emergency session of the Galaxy Council was unlike anything in their 10,000-year history. Representatives from 17 different civilizations sat in stunned silence as they received reports from the front lines. Every single alien military operation had ended in disaster, and some fleets had been completely destroyed without managing to damage a single human ship. Senator Lim Su-young was monitoring alien communications from her intelligence post on Europa Station. Her job was to track how the war was affecting alien societies, and what she discovered was even better than military victories. The alien governments were starting to collapse from internal pressure as their own people demanded answers. The Zephyrian Trade Federation had lost 60% of their merchant fleet to human raiders who seemed to know every secret route through space. Captain Huang Sumin was leading the raids using ships that looked like ordinary cargo vessels but were actually armed with weapons that could destroy anything the aliens sent after them. The aliens had always controlled galactic trade by knowing where everything was and when it would arrive, but humans had infiltrated their logistics network so completely that human forces knew alien shipping schedules better than the aliens themselves. Every convoy that left port was walking into a carefully planned ambush. The Mollusk Confederacy was facing an even worse problem. Their bioships were dying from a disease that only affected living vessels. Dr. Ru Jae-hyun had engineered the virus specifically to target mollusk technology without harming any other form of life. The aliens found themselves fighting an enemy that could kill their ships without ever seeing them. Admiral Choi received a priority message from Earth informing him that Phase 3 was about to begin. The evacuation and defensive operations had been successful beyond all expectations, and now it was time to show the aliens what humans could really do. When they stopped holding back, the Temporal Syndicate decided to end the war quickly by using their most terrifying weapon, time dilation fields that could age enemy ships into scrap metal in seconds. The aliens were confident that no defense existed against weapons that could manipulate time itself. They attacked Admiral Park Chan-wook's fleet near the Crimson Nebula, expecting instant victory. What happened next shocked every military analyst in the galaxy. The human ships did not age and crumble when hit by temporal weapons. Instead, they seemed completely immune to time manipulation. The aliens watched in horror as their greatest advantage became useless against an enemy that had somehow learned to resist temporal attacks. DRO had spent years studying captured Temporal Syndicate technology and had discovered that their time weapons created predictable energy patterns. Human ships were equipped with temporal stabilizers that generated opposing frequencies. The result was that human vessels existed in a bubble of normal time, even when everything around them was being accelerated or decelerated. The battle near Crimson Nebula became a massacre as alien ships aged themselves to death while human forces remained untouched. Commander Lee So-ra led the human assault fleet through the wreckage of what had once been the most feared military force in the galaxy. The Temporal Syndicate ceased to exist as a fighting force in less than an hour. The psychological Impact spread across the galaxy like wildfire. The aliens had used their ultimate weapon, and it had failed completely against human science. Civilizations that had surrendered to the Syndicate rather than face temporal destruction began declaring independence. The myth of alien invincibility was shattered beyond repair. War crimes tribunals began forming as alien species started accusing each other of causing the disaster. Some claimed that attacking humanity had been illegal under galactic law. Others argued that humans had violated the rules of civilized warfare by refusing to fight according to established conventions. Captain Nam Ji-yoon was leading humanitarian missions to worlds where alien governments had collapsed. The rebels fighting for independence needed supplies, weapons, and medical aid. Human cargo ships that had evacuated civilians were now bringing hope to oppressed peoples throughout the galaxy. The economic warfare proved more devastating than any military campaign. Financial analyst Lee Nain had identified the complex web of trade agreements and resource dependencies that held alien civilizations together. When humans systematically disrupted these connections, entire star systems collapsed into chaos without a single shot being fired. The hegemony of scales controlled hundreds of worlds through automated defense networks that responded to any threat with overwhelming force. But human cyber warfare specialists had learned how to turn those same networks against their creators. Defense satellites began attacking alien cities while ignoring human targets. Completely, Colonel Youngmin Woo was coordinating the liberation of prison worlds where the aliens had been holding political dissidents for centuries. Human special forces teams were appearing on planets that the aliens thought were impossible to reach. The prisoners they freed became some of humanity's most valuable allies in the spreading revolution. The alien coalition began falling apart as individual species realized that continuing the war meant risking extinction. The crystalline consciousness withdrew their fleets to protect their home systems. The fungal network declared neutrality and began offering to mediate peace talks. The gas giant collective simply disappeared from known space entirely. Captain Jang Ho-seo commanded a fleet of mobile factories that produced advanced versions of alien technology and distributed them to rebel forces throughout the galaxy. Primitive species were suddenly equipped with weapons that could challenge their former masters. Human generosity was proving more powerful than alien oppression. The final humiliation came when humans broadcast the complete historical records of every major alien civilization. The files contained evidence of countless atrocities, cover-ups, and betrayals that the aliens had hidden from their own people. The moral authority that had allowed them to rule for millennia vanished overnight. President Kim Dong-hyuk had replaced Kong after she was assassinated by alien agents, but her death only made humans more determined to win the war. His first act was to declare that any alien government that had harmed human civilians would face complete destruction. The aliens had made the mistake of making the war personal. The Quan the Jin was developing new weapons based on captured alien technology, but her most important work involved reverse engineering the social control methods that aliens used to maintain power. Once humans understood how alien societies really worked, they could target the psychological pressure points that kept those civilizations stable. The galaxy watched in amazement as the most ancient and powerful civilizations began crumbling. From within, human agents were not just winning battles, they were inspiring revolutions that freed billions of beings from systems of oppression that had existed since before Earth had developed writing. The war was no longer about human survival. It had become about galactic liberation. The species that had been dismissed as primitive newcomers were now the champions of freedom. For every oppressed people in known space, the aliens had started a war thinking they would crush human expansion. Instead, they had unleashed forces that would reshape the entire galaxy. The hegemony of scales had ruled over 300 star systems for 8,000 years, using automated defense networks that made rebellion impossible. Their robot fleets could crush any uprising before it began, and their surveillance systems monitored every conversation on every world. But humans had found a way to turn the hegemony's greatest strength into their fatal weakness. General Kim Woo-jin stood in the command center of the liberated prison world Tartarus 7, watching displays that showed the collapse of alien military power across the galaxy. His ground forces had taken the planet in 18 hours, not through superior firepower, but through superior understanding of how alien minds work, the hegemony robots were programmed to respond to specific threat patterns that had been effective against alien rebellions for millennia, but humans did not fight like other species. Human tactics were unpredictable, creative, and constantly changing the defense systems that had kept the peace for thousands of years could not adapt fast enough to counter human innovation. Captain Li Bo-young was leading the assault on the hegemony command station in orbit above their capital world. Her Marines were not traditional soldiers, but specialists trained to survive in any environment and improvise weapons from local materials. They moved through the alien facility like ghosts, using stealth technology that made them invisible to sensors. The breakthrough came when human hackers gained control of the hegemony's central computer network. Dr. Park Soo-jin had discovered that all their automated systems were connected through quantum entanglement links that could not be severed or blocked. Once humans gained access to one node, they could control everything. The robot fleets that had terrorized the galaxy for millennia suddenly turned their weapons on their creators. Defense satellites began bombarding alien cities while ignoring human targets. Completely automated factories started producing weapons for rebel forces instead of equipment for the government. The hegemony collapsed in less than a week. Economic analyst Lee Nain was coordinating the financial warfare that was proving even more effective than military action. She had identified the complex web of trade agreements, resource dependencies, and currency exchanges that held alien civilizations together. When humans disrupted these connections, entire empires fell apart without a single battle. The Krillian Empire discovered that their bioships were dying from engineered viruses that targeted specific genetic sequences in their living vessels. The disease spread through their fleets faster than any medicine could cure it. Within months, the most feared Navy in the galaxy was reduced to floating graveyards. Commander Bae Hyojin specialized in psychological warfare operations that broke alien morale without killing alien soldiers. His teams would infiltrate enemy communication networks and broadcast evidence of corruption, incompetence, and cowardice among alien leadership. The troops lost faith in their commanders and began surrendering in mass groups. Captain Zhang Hoseo commanded mobile factory ships that traveled from system to system, providing advanced technology to rebel forces. His vessels could produce superior versions of any alien weapon and distribute them to oppressed species throughout the galaxy. The revolution was spreading faster than any government could contain. The most devastating revelation came when humans released the complete historical archives of every major alien civilization. The files contained evidence of genocides, slavery systems, and deliberate technological suppression that the alien governments had hidden for centuries. Their own people turned against them when they learned the truth. President Kim Dong-hyuk announced that humanity would offer protection to any species that declared independence from the old galactic order. The promise was backed by military force that had proven capable of defeating any alien fleet. Human space became a sanctuary for refugees fleeing collapsing empires. Dr. Ru Jae-hyun had been studying alien social structures since first contact and had identified the cultural pressure points that kept their civilizations stable. Human agents began applying targeted pressure to these weaknesses, causing alien governments to collapse from internal rebellion rather than external conquest. The Temporal Union tried to retreat into time-locked fortresses where they could wait for the human threat to pass, but Dr. Shin Hae-won had perfected temporal tracking technology that allowed human forces to follow them into any time period. The aliens discovered that there was no when they could hide from human determination. The war crimes trials began even while fighting continued as liberated populations demanded justice for centuries of oppression. Human judges worked with local leaders to establish fair legal systems that replaced the arbitrary rule of alien overlords. The galaxy was learning what real civilization looked like. Admiral Park Chan-wook received surrender offers from 12 different alien governments in a single day. The species that had demanded human submission 2 years earlier were now begging for mercy from the primitives they had tried to destroy. The transformation was so complete that even humans were surprised by their success. The financial markets that had controlled galactic trade for millennia collapsed when humans demonstrated that prosperity could exist without exploitation. Human economic principles based on voluntary exchange and mutual benefit proved more stable and productive than the extraction systems used by alien Empire's Captain Song Min-jun was conducting deep reconnaissance missions in the core worlds where the oldest alien civilizations had ruled since before human history began. What he found shocked even experienced intelligence analysts. The great galactic powers were revealed to be hollow shells maintained by fear and propaganda rather than genuine strength. The liberation of the slave worlds proved that human promises were more reliable than alien threats species that had served as forced labor for thousands of years were suddenly free to develop their own technology and pursue their own destinies. Many chose to ally with humanity rather than try to rebuild their destroyed homelands. Dro Taeyang announced a breakthrough in faster than light communication that would make the old hyperspace networks obsolete. Human colonies could now coordinate activities across galactic distances instantly. The aliens had controlled information flow by controlling the physical infrastructure. But humans had made that control irrelevant. The mass surrenders began when alien military commanders realized that continuing to fight would only result in the complete destruction of their civilizations. The species that had started the war to preserve their dominance were now fighting just to survive. The human response was more generous than anyone expected. Lieutenant Colonel Yoon threatened alien fleets receive safe passage to neutral systems if they agreed to abandon their weapons and never return to human space. The offers were accepted so quickly that human forces barely had time to process all the surrender documents. The galaxy was transforming faster than anyone could have imagined. The old order was dying and everyone knew it. The question was no longer whether humans would win, but what kind of galaxy would emerge from the ashes of the ancient empires. The species that had been dismissed as primitive newcomers were now the architects of galactic civilization. The transformation was complete. The war ended not with surrender documents but with silence. One by one, alien civilizations stopped attacking human positions and began sending unofficial diplomatic feelers. The Galactic Council disbanded in all but name as member species withdrew to deal with internal rebellions and economic collapse. Ambassador Kwan So-hyun found herself in the unusual position of receiving apology delegations from the same species that had demanded human submission 2 years earlier. The aliens who had once threatened humanity with extinction now begged for technological assistance, economic partnerships, and military protection from the chaos they had helped create. The peace that emerged was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Instead of the rigid hierarchy that had existed for millennia, a loose confederation of independent species began forming around human space. The new order was based on mutual benefit rather than submission, with humans serving as mediators rather than rulers. President Kang's successor, Kim Dong-yuk, established the principle that would guide human galactic policy. Any species could join the human-led alliance, but none would be forced to do so. The freedom to choose one's destiny, which had started the war, became the foundation of galactic peace. The transformation was remarkable. Worlds that had suffered under alien oppression flourished under human protection. Technologies that had been restricted to maintaining elite power were shared freely, leading to unprecedented innovation and prosperity. The galaxy discovered that cooperation produced better results than domination. The former alien powers found themselves adapting to a universe where humans set the rules through example rather than force. Species that had once competed for the Council's approval now competed to demonstrate their value to human civilization. The galaxy's new motto became simple: contribute or be ignored. The story concluded with the establishment of the Terran Commonwealth, a voluntary association of species united by shared values rather than shared subjugation. Humanity had achieved what no galactic power had managed in millions of years. They had created a civilization based on choice, growth, and the fundamental right of sapient beings to determine their own fate. The galaxy learned that sometimes the best way to achieve peace is to walk away from those who mistake negotiation for weakness. And sometimes the greatest victory comes not from conquering your enemies, but from inspiring them to become something better than they ever thought possible.